Nanase Takeshi, a typical teenager at Sakuraya High School in Tokyo, starts his day feeling the tension with his childish brother, Gekku, as they silently pass each other. At school, his supposed girlfriend, Isoshima, meets him after his morning sword practice at the dojo. Takeshi, who is skilled in swordsmanship, has a wooden sword in a black case on his back. After walking together for a bit, they part ways, agreeing to meet later. As Takeshi approaches a room, he hears a strange noise from a nearby door. He initially ignores it, but is shocked when a girl named Iba Mui collapses as she steps out. Worried about her, Takeshi carries her to the nurse's office, only to find it empty. He lays Mui on a hospital bed and notices she's talking in her sleep. Unconsciously, she hugs Takeshi, mistaking him for her brother. When she wakes up, she panics upon realizing she's holding a stranger and accidentally sends Takeshi flying into a wall. After he explains what happened, Mui faints again and falls onto Takeshi, leading to an accidental kiss. This unexpected moment snaps Mui back to consciousness, and she quickly fires 2 shots near Takeshi. The blasts slightly damage the wall, and magical dust settles on him. As the tension eases, they introduce themselves. While talking, Takeshi sees the magical dust coming from Mui and becomes curious. Mui is startled to realize Takeshi can see it and starts apologizing, but she doesn't explain why. Moments later, a magical butterfly appears, but Mui quickly shoots it down, revealing it to be a scout bug. Now visibly paranoid, Mui tries to run with Takeshi, but they're soon confronted by her brother, Suganashi, and his men. It turns out they're all magic users, and Suganashi uses his icy powers to block Takeshi's escape with Mui. One of Suganashi's men, Oigami, volunteers to take on Takeshi, and Suganashi gives the go-ahead. A battle starts, with Takeshi drawing his wooden sword for defense. Surprisingly, despite Oigami's fighting skills, Takeshi holds his ground. He uses a special technique to predict Oigami's attacks, giving him the upper hand. With this advantage, Takeshi manages to hit Oigami's hands, ending the fight. Realizing he's in danger, Takeshi quickly escapes with Mui through a nearby window. Hotaru, one of Suganashi's subordinates who saw the fight, thinks Takeshi is a magician because of his impressive combat skills. Suganashi confirms this, revealing that Takeshi is an evasive magic user, similar to Oigami. Meanwhile, another high school student, Ida, spots Hotaru chasing Takeshi and questions her, noticing she looks worn out from the pursuit. As Takeshi and Mui escape and hide behind a pillar, Mui apologizes for bringing Takeshi into her problems. She explains that she accidentally turned him into a magician when he came into contact with the magical residue from her gun. Mui is upset as she talks about wanting to rescue her brother, whose memories have been altered by entities known as ghost trailers. She also explains that magicians hide their existence due to historical fear of humans. Mui attends Subaru Magic Academy, which helps magicians coexist with humans. Takeshi is overwhelmed by this information. Just then, Isoshima arrives and is confused by the situation, misinterpreting the closeness between Takeshi and Mui. Shortly after, Oigami and his partner show up to capture Mui and Takeshi on Suganashi's orders. Isoshima remains puzzled by what's happening. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Takeshi tells Mui to escape with Isoshima. In the chaos, Oigami's companion attacks Isoshima with magic, but because of the magical rule against using ancestral magic on another magician in the living world, he loses his powers. After the recent events, Oigami continues to fight Takeshi, determined to settle the score. At the same time, Isoshima comes into contact with magic and transforms into a magician. Her new abilities noticeably change her appearance, grabbing Takeshi's attention. Mui, watching, notes that Isoshima has corporeal magic, a type of transformation magic. Soon, Ida arrives with an unconscious Hotaru slumped over his shoulder. He sets her down and starts explaining how he found her. As he tells the story, flames surround his hands, leading Mui to identify him as having destruction magic. This new magic irritates Oigami, making him even more aggressive as he fights Takeshi with increased force. During the battle, Takeshi signals Mui, who then uses her powers to create a blinding light that obscures Oigami's vision. Takeshi seizes the opportunity to land a decisive blow, ending the fight. After the skirmish, Mui assesses the situation and instructs Takeshi and the others to follow her. She leads them through a mirror, revealing a devastated version of Tokyo City on the other side. Mui calls this place the Ruined World, leaving Takeshi in shock at the sight. The Ruined World has a messed up timeline, where time doesn't flow like it does in the normal universe. The sight of ruined Tokyo City really disturbs Isoshima, Ida, and Takeshi, leaving them speechless over what they see. Later that day, they reach Subaru Magic Academy, where Isoshima gets treated for her injuries. Hyudu, a nurse at the academy, uses magic to speed up her healing, but Takeshi is surprised to find out that magic can only help natural healing and can't get rid of all the pain. After the treatment, Hyudu tells Mui and the others to meet Shijo Momoka, the headmistress of the academy. When they get to Momoka's office, she informs them that the ghost trailers who attacked them earlier are now in custody. The fact that Momoka looks so young shocks Ida, Takeshi, and Isoshima, who can't believe she's the headmistress. Mui apologizes to Momoka for bringing Ida and the others into magical issues, but Momoka brushes off the apology and starts explaining the magical world. She talks about a major event from 16 years ago, a huge magic war that broke out between magicians. In this conflict, Ryusenji Kazuma, a powerful magician, led the Ghost Trailers into a fierce battle against a coalition of 15 great magicians who wanted to stop him. Kazuma aimed to wipe out humanity using a specific spell, but he was stopped by the united force of these magicians. The great magicians worked together to split the world into two, leaving one part exposed to the destructive spell Kazuma had cast. Momoka's revelation leaves Takeshi and the others stunned, and they wonder how the magicians managed to divide the world. Momoka explains that a pact was made with the enemy to keep their conflict in the ruined world. Whoever wins this war will gain control over the living world and rule it. To enforce this pact, a spell was cast on Earth to stop magicians from fighting each other in the living world. That's why Oigami's ally lost his magic when he attacked Isoshima, a magician. While regular magic is okay, ancestral magic is banned in combat. Curious, Takeshi asks about Kazuma's current location, but Momoka reveals he is missing. Rumor has it that Kazuma fell into an eternal slumber because of the spell he used, which turned a mirrored world into ruins around 20 years ago. After explaining the magical realm, Momoka offers them a choice: stay at the academy and learn magic, or return to the living world and lose their powers. Takeshi thinks it over and decides to stay at the academy to study magic, feeling reassured by Momoka about the safety of the academy and considering Mui's situation. His choice encourages Ida to do the same, and Isoshima decides to join them too. Momoka is happy with their decision and puts them all in the same class. However, as punishment for Mui's actions, she orders Mui to be in the same class as Takeshi, despite her advanced skills. This is because the headmistress had promised that Mui's community would retrieve her brother, Aiba Tsuganashi, but Mui took matters into her own hands. The meeting with Momoka wraps up, and Mui takes Takeshi and the others to their dorms. A few days later, Takeshi and his friends start their first year at the magical school. During class, their teacher tells them to activate their ancestral magic, but clueless Takeshi struggles with this, just like Ida and Isoshima, who are still beginner magicians. The teacher explains the idea of aspects, which are tools that help magicians focus and project their powers. While Ida and Isoshima have their aspects, Takeshi finds out he doesn't have one. So, Mui takes Takeshi to a shop where he can get an aspect. That afternoon, they get to the shop and meet Katu, a middle-aged guy, who shows them a bunch of aspects for Takeshi to choose from. Katu presents him with an aspect shaped like a sword, mentioning it was once used by a sneaky magic user like Takeshi. Mui thinks the sword would be a good match for him. However, they soon discover the sword has a magic crest on it, which could be dangerous since an aspect shouldn't carry someone else's magic circle. In theory, using it could lead to serious injuries, like losing a hand. Despite this, Katu assures Takeshi it's safe for him to use the sword because of his evasive magic skills. As Takeshi checks out the sword, Katu suddenly attacks him with another weapon. Takeshi manages to defend himself, and during the fight, he accidentally activates the magic circle on the sword. This causes him to channel magical energy or mana into the sword, which is exactly what Katu wanted. Katu stops his attack when he sees the sword is now activated. Over time, the sword absorbs more of Takeshi's mana and activates a cartridge inside it, revealing it's a gun sword. Mui notices this and sees Takeshi getting weaker from mana loss. Even though he's exhausted, Takeshi stands up, and Katu suggests he should make the sword his aspect. He explains that the sword's cartridge lets Takeshi use other people's magical powers. Katu then gives Takeshi 3 bullets for the sword's cartridge. He explains that the bullets can be infused with another magician's power, letting the sword change based on that magician's abilities. He also shares that the sword is called Twilight, a name given by its previous owner. Deciding to accept Twilight as his aspect, Takeshi heads back to class with Mui. When they arrive, they find the classroom in chaos, caused by Ida losing control of his powers. Later, 2 unknown individuals meet in a car. It looks like they are working for Kazuma and teleport to a specific spot to meet him. Days after starting at the magical school, Takeshi, Ida, Isoshima, and Mui regularly stayed behind after class to practice magic. On one of those days, Takeshi has a hard time activating Twilight and struggles to unlock its cartridge. Meanwhile, Isoshima catches the attention of several guys because of her attractive looks. Shortly after, Mui shows up and joins Isoshima for lunch. Later, in the girls' locker room, Mui offers Isoshima a ticket to see a fortune-telling witch. At first, Isoshima hesitates, but after some convincing, she decides to take the ticket. Their awkward exchange ends, and Isoshima heads to the school pool. At the pool, she enjoys taking attractive pictures of herself in a swimsuit, feeling happy and playful. After swimming, Isoshima and Mui walk through an alley, where the vibe feels off between them. Takeshi and Ida run into them and sense something strange. Meanwhile, two students pass by Mui, and one whispers, calling her the traitor's sister. Even though the remark is quiet, Mui hears it, which makes her sad, causing her to walk away from Takeshi and the others. With Mui gone, teacher Hituji arrives and starts a brief lecture about magical communities. He explains that the Ghost Trailers community avoids interactions with others, leading to negative opinions from other groups. Hituji, a member of the opposing Wizard Brace community, reveals that Mui, also from Wizard Brace, is seen as a traitor by some because her brother, Suganashi, belongs to the Ghost Trailers. Afterwards, they all head to their classroom to finish the day's lessons. When Takeshi arrives, he sees a group of students looking at photos of Isoshima in a swimsuit, showing some of her body. Feeling uncomfortable, Takeshi grabs the pictures and claims to be Isoshima's boyfriend. At that moment, Mui walks into the classroom just as Takeshi makes his statement. Hearing this, Mui immediately runs out, and Isoshima enters shortly after, puzzled by Mui's sudden exit and eyeing Takeshi with suspicion. Later, Isoshima notices the strange interaction between Takeshi and Mui, especially their awkward eye contact. Curious, she decides to visit the fortune teller to find out about the future of her relationship. During her session with the fortune teller, Isoshima learns that her relationship with Takeshi is doomed because he is destined to cheat on her. Overwhelmed by the news, she begins to cry but forces herself to believe that Takeshi will stay faithful. After the session, Isoshima returns to the main building of the campus and sits alone on the steps. Mui then approaches her and confesses that she accidentally kissed Takeshi once. Isoshima struggles to understand this revelation and abruptly leaves Mui to find Takeshi. When she finds him, she jumps on him and tries to kiss him, but he stops her. Confused, Takeshi questions her actions, and Isoshima assumes he doesn't want to kiss her. She then confronts him about the kiss with Mui. Takeshi, now on the ground, explains that it was an accident, but Isoshima finds it hard to believe him. Then Takeshi suggests they end their relationship, revealing that their bond was just a facade for reasons Isoshima doesn't know. This shocks and hurts her deeply, as she realizes her real feelings for him. 3 days later, Takeshi notices that Isoshima is absent from magical training. Even after their confrontation, Takeshi's attempts to talk to Isoshima are met with silence. One day, Mui approaches Takeshi and asks if he and Isoshima are having problems. When Takeshi confirms they aren't getting along, Mui asks if it's because of her, but Takeshi reassures her it isn't. Meanwhile, Isoshima watches their conversation from a distance, clearly angry. Minutes later, Isoshima returns to the school building and walks through an alley. A student who finds her attractive tries to ask her out, but she declines, mentioning her relationship with Takeshi. When she turns to leave, the student attempts to grab her, triggering terrible flashbacks of past aggressive encounters with men. Overwhelmed, Isoshima falls to her knees, scared and distressed, while the student keeps trying to get her attention. At that moment, Takeshi arrives, steps in, and sends the student away with a firm warning never to approach Isoshima again. Once the student is gone, Takeshi approaches Isoshima and asks if she's alright. Years ago, when Isoshima was in junior high, her beauty attracted a lot of attention. As she continued through school, boys from various schools and colleges began asking her out. After a disturbing encounter with a stalker, she stopped attending classes. Takeshi, her only trusted friend at the time, agreed to pretend to be her boyfriend to keep other boys away. In the present, Isoshima reassures Takeshi that she's fine, which visibly eases him. He explains that he never meant to cut off their communication, even after they broke up, and admits that he was hurt when she stopped talking to him, surprising her. Meanwhile, Takeshi's brother, Gekku, is having dinner with their mother and voices concern about the food quality at Takeshi's new school. However, their mother seems uninterested and doesn't respond when Gekko suggests they reconcile with Takeshi. About 2 years ago, Gekku walked home from school with Takeshi and heard rumors that Takeshi was dating Isoshima. Thinking it was just gossip and curious about Isoshima, Gekku asked Takeshi for clarification. When he found out that Takeshi was indeed dating her, he felt betrayed and, in his anger, ran off, getting hit by a car in the process. In the present, Isoshima suggests restoring their previous relationship, and Takeshi agrees. Later, Isoshima finds pictures of herself in Takeshi's pocket and misunderstands the situation. Takeshi explains that he had taken them from some students and saved them. She takes back the pictures but gives Takeshi one to keep before leaving. Takeshi smiles as he looks at the photo. Meanwhile, Mui watches from a distance with a ticket to the fortune-telling witch. As the sun sets, Isoshima walks alone at school, wondering if Takeshi's decision to reconcile was influenced by Mui. That evening, Mui visits the fortune-telling witch to find her brother, Suganashi. After getting the information, she rushes off to search for him in the ruins of Tokyo City. The next day, Isoshima runs to the training room to tell Takeshi and Ida about Mui's disappearance. She hands Takeshi a piece of paper with a map showing marked locations in red. Takeshi realizes Mui has gone off alone to find her brother. Soon after, Takeshi and Isoshima report the situation to their teacher, Hituji, but Takeshi gets frustrated with the response. Hituji says he can't help with Mui's case because Momoka isn't available. Later that morning, Takeshi tells Ida and Isoshima privately that he plans to leave the academy to find Mui. Despite Isoshima's warnings about the danger, Takeshi insists on going, expressing his concern for Mui. This shocks Isoshima, especially when Takeshi mentions their shared traits and his admiration for Mui's courage. Takeshi wishes he could fight for his family, like Mui fights for hers. Upset, Isoshima runs away after Takeshi says he can't abandon Mui. Meanwhile, Mui sneaks through the city streets, searching for her brother and reminiscing about the happy times they shared when Suganashi was cheerful and enjoyed spending time with her. In the present, as Takeshi tries to leave the school, Ida stops him, worried about the danger of the mission. Ida decides to join him, thinking it's a suicide mission. To their surprise, Isoshima arrives and insists on joining them as well, claiming she can't leave Takeshi in Ida's care due to her lack of control over his magic. Shortly after, they all exit the school through a portal. On the other side, they encounter a gatekeeper who warns them to go back to the academy. They witness the ongoing conflict between the ghost trailers and other magicians, and Isoshima is horrified when she sees a magician being burned alive. Scared, she turns to Takeshi, trembling. Realizing how serious the war is, Takeshi tells Ida to take Isoshima back to the academy while he continues to search for Mui. However, Isoshima chases after Takeshi, and Ida feels compelled to follow her. Nearby, Mui is slammed against a wall by Suganashi, who scolds her for falling into his trap by coming to find him. It becomes clear the fortune-telling witch is allied with Suganashi and the ghost trailers. Even though Suganashi is ordered to bring Mui in alive, Mui insists on taking him with her. Suganashi, however, closes in on Mui and holds her in a choking grip, causing her to lose consciousness from lack of air. Meanwhile, Takeshi arrives and sees Mui unconscious. Angry, he attacks Suganashi. As an evasive magic user, Takeshi dodges Suganashi's initial attacks but eventually gets hurt. Isoshima and Ida, witnessing Takeshi's struggle, are worried about him. When Suganashi prepares another attack, Ida intervenes and gets trapped in ice. Despite worrying about Ida, Takeshi keeps fighting Suganashi to save Mui. Ida's willingness to take the hit comes from Takeshi having saved his sister from danger before. Back in the present, Takeshi fights Suganashi, mad over Mui's suffering. Meanwhile, Ida is about to freeze solid inside the ice. Using his powers to predict Suganashi's next move, Takeshi redirects an icy rock to break the ice, trapping Ida. Then, Takeshi tells Ida to charge a bullet with his magical energy. Despite Ida not being an expert, Takeshi remains hopeful that Ida will succeed. Takeshi then engages Suganashi to keep him busy while Ida works on the bullet. Meanwhile, Isoshima uses healing magic on Mui, helping her regain consciousness. As Ida charges the bullet with his magic, Takeshi prepares Twilight by infusing it with mana. Both processes take some time, with Ida and Takeshi working hard. Meanwhile, Mui and Isoshima maintain a barrier to shield Takeshi from Suganashi's powerful attacks. At the crucial moment, Ida finishes charging the bullet and aims it at Takeshi. Takeshi then activates Twilight's cartridge and inserts the bullet, combining their magical powers to boost Twilight's output significantly. With this advantage, Takeshi aims to defeat Suganashi with one powerful strike, delivering a decisive blow that knocks Suganashi to the ground. Meanwhile, Mui approaches her brother, but Takeshi warns her to stay back, believing the battle isn't over yet. As the smoke clears, Ida and the others meet Washizu Kippei, a ghost trailer who admires Takeshi's combat skills. Washizu offers Takeshi a chance to join the ghost trailers, but his proposal is interrupted when he notices unfamiliar parties approaching. Consequently, Washizu grabs Suganashi and disappears. The next day, Ida and the others visit Momoka's office. After some convincing from Takeshi, Momoka agrees to let them make another attempt to rescue Mui's brother. Meanwhile, Washizu discusses the failed plan with the fortune-telling witch. It's revealed that the witch is actually the original owner of Twilight and is secretly teaching at the academy under the guise of Violet, the English teacher. After a few weeks, a new mysteriously conjured building appears on campus, created using illusion magic. This building is designated for the school-wide ancestral magic exam. Momoka announces that if Takeshi and his team perform well, they'll have a chance to rescue Mui's brother, Suganashi. At the start of the exam, Hituji briefs the students on the objective: reach a specific building a short distance away using their evasive magic. The exam begins, and Takeshi sets off immediately to achieve the goal. Candidates who get injured during the exam will be automatically teleported to the first aid tents, which counts as a withdrawal from the exam. As Takeshi navigates through the illusory city streets, he encounters large insects armed with machine guns. He manages to defeat most of them and continues toward his goal. Along the way, he spots Oigami and is surprised to see him in the exam area. Takeshi confronts Oigami and asks him questions, but Oigami seems to have no memory of their past encounters. This amnesia confuses Takeshi, raising questions about what's going on. Meanwhile, it seems that Hituji and Momoka are aware of Oigami's memory loss and may have had a hand in it, considering he was in their custody for weeks. In the meantime, Isoshima is struggling to advance to the 4th level of her physical examination. She feels trapped in a maze and doesn't know how to use her magic project to move forward. Meanwhile, Ida and Mui are progressing through their respective examinations, each moving through different levels with their magical abilities. Takeshi also moves to another level but faces challenges as he's being chased by a large hippo. Elsewhere, Violet and two other witches cast a spell that alters the exam site. Their spell opens a portal in the ground, causing Takeshi to fall through it. Hituji and Momoka notice a dark magical presence at the exam site and question its source. The portal leads to a place where many evasive magic users fall and get eliminated due to injuries. However, Takeshi casts a spell that allows him to float just before hitting the ground. Isoshima sees the changes at the exam site and is confused. Suddenly, a large rocky monster attacks her, but Oigami arrives just in time to save her. He defeats the monster with a powerful attack. Oigami then talks with Isoshima, but the conversation is awkward because of his memory loss. Soon after, Oigami is withdrawn from the exam due to an injury he got while saving Isoshima. Shortly after, Isoshima meets up with Takeshi, Mui, and Ida at a higher vantage point. They all notice the changes in the exam location and believe they are close to finishing the level. Isoshima mentions seeing Oigami in the exam, and Takeshi confirms it. Mui then realizes that Oigami's memories have been erased and suggests they focus on their goal of completing the exam. As they continue, a large rocky monster falls from the sky and attacks them. Mui unleashes a powerful assault using her ancestral magic, but the monster remains unharmed. In response, Ida charges a new bullet with his magic and hands it to Takeshi. Takeshi uses Twilight's cartridge to enhance the bullet's power, significantly boosting Twilight's magical output. He then delivers a decisive blow to the monster, ending the battle. Meanwhile, Violet watches from a distance, eager to reclaim Twilight because she's surprised by its immense power compared to when she used it. Hyudu massages Momoka's back and informs her of the exam results. Since Takeshi and his team accomplished their goal, Momoka agrees to give them a chance to rescue Mui's brother. The new year begins with Takeshi and Isoshima having a heated argument in class over Gekku. Previously, Takeshi had promised to visit Gekku and bring him good luck charms for his exams, but now he's reluctant to go. This decision angers Isoshima, who calls Takeshi a dummy before storming out. Later, Isoshima is home alone when Gekko arrives. He wishes her a happy new year and suggests they visit their usual shrine for the celebration. Isoshima expresses her hope that Takeshi could join them, but Gekku frowns at the idea. She also suggests that Gekku should reconcile with Takeshi, but he claims that Takeshi keeps avoiding him. Gekku then asks if Isoshima is just pretending to date Takeshi, and she admits that's true. He mentions that she won't need to keep up the act for much longer since he'll be transferring to her school in April. Isoshima is shocked by this unexpected news. Meanwhile, Washizu watches them from a distance with another magic user, wearing a strange smile. Later that day, Takeshi and Mui wrap up their training session at the Academy Dojo. Takeshi, exhausted, impresses Mui with his stamina. Feeling under the weather from the cold, Mui is escorted to her dorm by Takeshi. After he leaves, Violet arrives and collects a hair follicle from the dojo, aiming to uncover Takeshi's true identity. Meanwhile, Takeshi arrives at Mui's dorm room and helps her onto the bed. As he tries to leave, Mui pulls him onto the bed with her because she's cold. He waits for her to fall asleep before trying to slip away. Just as he attempts to leave, Isoshima arrives. She's shocked to see Mui's bra on the floor and misinterprets what's happening. Angrily, she kicks Takeshi out of the room despite his attempts to explain. When Mui wakes up and sees Isoshima, she's initially happy, but Isoshima quickly accuses her of being a homewrecker and sends her out, prompting Mui to call Takeshi. When confronted by Mui, Takeshi refuses to see Isoshima. He explains that Isoshima isn't his concern and reveals the truth about their fake relationship. Throughout winter break, Takeshi and Isoshima remain awkward around each other. One day, Isoshima goes to the library and finds Oigami there alone. They start talking, during which Oigami acts flirty. His comments unsettle Isoshima, making her rush out of the room. As she hurries out, she bumps into Takeshi, who wants to talk, but she avoids him, calling him a dummy in her head. Takeshi notices Oigami with Isoshima in the library, locks eyes with him, and then turns to leave. At the end of winter break, a plan is set to recover Aiba Tsuganashi. After a month, Momoka briefs Takeshi and a group of selected students, including Ida, Mui, Isoshima, and others, about their mission to retrieve Suganashi. Unfortunately, Momoka won't be joining them due to other commitments. Before finishing her address, she hands Mui a powerful bullet meant to capture her brother without causing harm. Using her black magic, Momoka opens a portal to the ruined world. At that moment, Oigami and Hotaru are pushed through a door to join Takeshi and the others. Once they enter the portal, a car appears, and Washizu steps out. Momoka then designates Hotaru and Oigami as hostages, offering them to Washizu in exchange for Tsuganashi. Oigami, now realizing his memories have been messed with, starts to understand why he was treated strangely by Takeshi and the others. Meanwhile, Hotaru struggles to accept this reality. Before Oigami leaves with Hotaru to meet Washizu, Isoshima thanks him for saving her during the physical exams, and he gives her a magical item before departing. The hostage exchange between Momoka and Washizu ends with Suganashi arriving at Mui's location. Momoka and Washizu then step through a portal created by Momoka's magic to settle their matters. Suganashi arrives and immediately activates his magical powers to fight Mui and the others. Despite his history with Mui, he has no memory of her and shows no hesitation in potentially killing her. Hyudo, acting as the team leader, instructs Takeshi and the others on how to engage Suganashi. A fierce battle breaks out, with Suganashi initially targeting Hyudo. His attack is easily blocked, and although he's outnumbered, he manages to take down 2 magic users. Mui chases after Tsugunashi, followed by Takeshi and Ida, while Hyudo stays behind to assist the injured. Meanwhile, Momoka and Washizu float in the atmosphere, discussing their past before starting their fight. They were once teammates, and Momoka expresses regret that she didn't eliminate Washizu in the past. Moments later, they begin a magical duel, with Momoka making the first move using her black magic. All initial attacks are neutralized, leading to an intense moment as Washizu casts a destructive spell capable of melting anything he looks at. Momoka, facing imminent danger, battles Washizu in hopes of defeating him and nullifying his dangerous spell. She traps Washizu in an imaginary box with an explosive inside. After the explosion, she thinks Washizu is dead but is bewildered by the ongoing effects of his spell. Her confusion is short-lived as Washizu rises from the sea, revealing how he survived her attack. With little time left, Momoka desperately casts a spell that pulls all matter into a black hole. Washizu fights against the gravitational pull, but is eventually drawn in when a car knocks him off balance, stopping the effects of his spell. Exhausted, Momoka collapses into the sea. Meanwhile, Mui, Ida, and Takeshi arrive at an icy castle looking for Tsugunashi. Shortly after entering, they face icy projections from the walls targeting them. They dodge the projections, and Takeshi asks Ida to give him the magic-charged bullet. When Takeshi gets the bullet, it explodes because Ida overloaded it with too much mana. Takeshi tries to ascend the castle but gets stuck as an icy projection freezes his hand. Mui moves away to climb the castle and confront her brother, while Takeshi, frustrated, watches as Ida attempts to melt the ice from his hand. Losing patience, Takeshi instructs Ida to blast the ice off his hand. Meanwhile, Suganashi, positioned above, prepares to attack Mui. He hits her, knocking her to the ground, but Takeshi and Ida reach him before more damage can be done. While Mui recovers, she whispers words that bring her to tears, and surprisingly, Takeshi also sheds tears, showing that Mui is starting to reach him. Suganashi begins to recall his childhood memories with his sister, screaming in distress. Mui takes note and loads her weapon with the special bullet Momoka gave her. She recites a few spells and aims at Suganashi, who is rushing towards her to fight. She fires, and Suganashi tries to deflect the shot. The next day, Hyudo attends to Momoka, who lies weakly in bed. Even though she survived the fall, she's in critical condition. As Momoka regains consciousness, she is shocked to be alive, but Hyudo warns her that she may not be as lucky next time. Meanwhile, Mui lies beside Suganashi, weeping with relief upon realizing that he has returned to his normal self. Suganashi apologizes for everything that happened while Ida, Takeshi, and Isoshima observe from a distance. Later that day, Washizu meets Violet at a secret location. Violet mocks him for losing Suganashi, a high-ranking magic user, back to the Wizard Brace community. Furious, Washizu kills the 2 magic users standing next to Violet, leaving her in shock. He declares that Kazuma will soon awaken, marking the beginning of the trailer's reign. Washizu then introduces Tsuganashi's replacement, an unidentified magic user at the far end of the room. On the night before Valentine's Day, Takeshi dreams that Isoshima is captured and killed by a monster. He wakes up terrified, thinking about what he saw in his dream. As he tries to fall back asleep, Twilight takes on a physical form and approaches him. The next day, after an intense training session with Suganashi, Mui gives Takeshi a Valentine's gift. Shortly after, Isoshima arrives with her own gift, assuming that Takeshi might not be as excited about hers. Takeshi reassures her that he is grateful and appreciates her gesture. Isoshima suggests they visit a place where Takeshi can receive more gifts, which he agrees to. As Takeshi follows Isoshima, he has flashbacks of his disturbing dream about her. Sensing something's off, Isoshima asks if he's okay, but Takeshi insists he's fine and continues with her. Later that night, Takeshi dreams again, this time of Mui falling from the clouds. Terrified, he wakes up and looks out the window. Suganashi, walking in the alley, sees Takeshi's distress and asks if he's having trouble sleeping. Takeshi explains he's been having troubling dreams for the past 2 days. Suganashi says that nightmares can sometimes be triggered by magic and advises Takeshi to see Hyudo for a checkup. The next day, Mui is at the hospital with a leg injury from falling down the stairs. Takeshi, who is there with her, becomes lightheaded and briefly passes out. Later, Takeshi wakes up in the school health center, where Hyudo examines him and recommends rest. As Takeshi falls asleep, he has a disturbing dream that affects his movements in the waking world. Hyudo notices this and sees Twilight taking a human form and vanishing. She quickly wakes Takeshi and asks why he didn't seek her help for his nightmares. Hyudo reveals that Twilight, who uses Takeshi's mana to appear, is causing his nightmares, which can predict future events. This frightens Takeshi, and Hyudo warns him further that if Twilight keeps manifesting, she could drain all his mana and lead to his death. She advises him to stop keeping Twilight close before sleep to avoid this dangerous outcome. That night, Takeshi ignores Hyudo's advice and keeps Twilight near him as he sleeps. In his dreams, he meets Twilight's human form and tries to question her. The next day, Takeshi visits Momoka's office to explain why he didn't follow her instructions. He admits he wanted to see the future, even if he couldn't change it. Momoka advises him that to control Twilight, he must confront her in his dreams. She assures him that she will be there to protect him during this process. At sunset, Suganashi, Mui, Isoshima, and Hyudo gather around Takeshi's bed. Momoka steps aside for Hyudo to cast a sleeping spell on Takeshi, and Mui is projected into the dream as support. Soon, Takeshi finds himself in the dreamscape where Twilight appears. The scene changes, and his mother appears, trying to deliver a message about Gekko before disappearing. Gekko then appears and starts attacking Takeshi with magic, leaving him stunned and confused, unable to tell reality from the dream. In the end, Twilight shifts from her Gekko facade back to her human form and begins attacking Takeshi, warning him to surrender. She also targets Mui, knowing Takeshi cares about her. After a fierce battle, Twilight overpowers Takeshi, forcing him to his knees. Takeshi remembers Momoka's words about the magician aspect relationship being like a parental bond. Armed with this insight, he manages to defeat Twilight by renaming her Eterna, which gives her a new purpose. Consequently, Eterna turns into her sword form and appears in Takeshi's hand. Later, Gekko returns home and tells his mother that he has been accepted into his desired school. A month later, Takeshi and Isoshima enjoy lunch together, and Takeshi assures her that he will always protect her, no matter what happens. As spring arrives, Subaru Magic Academy is ready to welcome its new students. Among them is Futaba, Ida's younger sister, whose stunning beauty catches Isoshima and Takeshi off guard. Curious, Takeshi asks Ida how Futaba became a magician, and Ida reveals that Futaba accidentally gained magical powers after a heated argument with him. Annoyed by this, Futaba storms off, prompting Ida to chase after her. Meanwhile, Takeshi and Isoshima are surprised when Gekko, Takeshi's brother, shows up at the academy. Takeshi asks how Gekko got his magical powers, but Gekko brushes off the question, saying he's just there for orientation. Days later, Gekko keeps quiet about his magical origins, leaving Takeshi confused. One day, Takeshi goes to the boys' hot shower room and finds Gekko, joining him. The tension between them, stemming from Takeshi's guilt over his brother's accident, makes the atmosphere uncomfortable, causing Takeshi to think about leaving. Gekko manages to lighten the mood by offering to scrub Takeshi's back. During this, he apologizes for blaming Takeshi for his injury and asks for forgiveness. The brothers make up and find common ground. The rest of spring is warm and bright, with Takeshi often training alongside Gekko. One day, Gekko encounters Violet while walking down the stairs and greets her before continuing, leaving Violet with a mysterious smile. Later, Takeshi has lunch in the cafeteria with Gekko, Isoshima, and others. Before he sits down, Hyudo tells him to guide Gekko, believing he sees the world differently. That night, Takeshi dreams that Gekko challenges him to a fight, swearing to take everything from him, including Eterna. Waking up distressed, Takeshi struggles to catch his breath. At that moment, Washizu appears at his window and starts talking about the dark history of the Wizard Brace magical community. Years ago, the magicians of Wizard Brace monopolized magic and ruled over other magicians, ruthlessly killing those who opposed them, including innocent people who chose not to use magic. Washizu shares his past with Ryu Senji Kazuma, the leader of the Ghost Trailers, mentioning that they were once best friends who learned magic together. When Kazuma was a student at the Magical Academy, Wizard Brace wanted his exceptional powers for battle. However, Kazuma refused to join the community, wanting to control his own magic. This left Washizu and their mutual friend Tsukiyomi stunned, as they wanted to be part of the community. Despite their hopes, Wizard Brace was unhappy with Kazuma's choice. A community representative met with Kazuma, threatening that his parents would be in danger if he didn't sign certain documents. Furious about the threat to his parents, Kazuma used his magic to kill the representative. In the end, Kazuma's parents were killed because of his actions, pushing him to rebel against Wizard Brace. He founded the Ghost Trailers to protect other magicians facing similar threats. During the late 20th century, the First Great Magic War began, with Kazuma leading the Ghost Trailers against an army of other magicians. During the conflict, Kazuma launched a devastating magical attack at Nanaze Yuko, Takeshi's mother, who was a witch at that time. Tsukiyomi, who saw this happen, tried to shield Yuko but was caught in the attack. When Washizu tells this to Takeshi, he is shocked to learn that his mother was one of the 15 great magicians involved in the war. Washizu explains that Tsukiyomi, Kazuma's right-hand man, had an emotional connection to Yuko and betrayed their cause. Takeshi questions why Washizu is sharing all this, but Washizu reveals that he wants Takeshi on his side. Takeshi declines the offer, saying he won't join the ghost trailers, but Washizu is confident that Takeshi will come around eventually. Before leaving Takeshi's room, Washizu advises him to confirm his account by talking to Momoka, the headmistress of the academy. The next morning, Takeshi seeks out Momoka and asks about his mother's role in the past magical war. Momoka, surprised by Takeshi's question, asks where he got his information. Suddenly, Takeshi rushes out of the office, leaving the reason for his quick exit a mystery. Meanwhile, Washizu remains unconscious next to Kazuma, waiting for him to wake up. After a while, Washizu regains consciousness and sees tears on Kazuma's face. This leads him to believe that Kazuma is starting to wake up. However, Violet interrupts with specific information, stating that Kazuma won't awaken until a certain date known as X Day, which falls on June 15th. On X Day, just as Violet predicted, Kazuma wakes up after 17 years of deep sleep. Washizu, excited about Kazuma's return, talks about the next part of the Ghost Trailer's plan, called Act 2. Their goal is to pass judgment on Wizard Brace, and Washizu eagerly awaits his orders. Later that morning, Takeshi is in class, confused by a recent dream he had about a large red dragon. As he thinks about what the dream means, he suddenly feels a threat and warns his classmates to take cover. Right outside the classroom, a magical dragon appears, shattering the window. Takeshi realizes this dragon is the same one from his dream. As chaos breaks out, Iba rushes off to find his younger sister, Futaba. Meanwhile, Isoshima, Mui, and Takeshi look out the window and see that the rest of the school is under attack. Magicians dressed in red are spread around the school, casting spells that eliminate students instantly. While searching for Futaba, Iba is hit by a falling rock and loses consciousness. Takeshi, witnessing the chaos from a window, rushes off to find Gekko. On a lower level of the school, Hyudo tries to check on a nearby body but is suddenly attacked from behind by Gekko, who reveals he has been working for the enemy all along. At the same time, Mui looks for her brother but is ambushed by red-cloaked magicians. As one prepares to launch a heavy attack on her, Suganashi steps in, blocking the attack and sending the attacker crashing down. Elsewhere, Momoka takes out an enemy but soon faces more trouble as magicians from the Pendragon community arrive to team up with the Ghost Trailers. Annoyed by this unexpected alliance, Momoka gets ready for a tough fight. Despite their combined efforts, Momoka uses her battle skills to outsmart them and banish them through a black hole. After the skirmish, Violet hovers in midair, watching Momoka closely. Recognizing Violet as her foe, Momoka braces herself for a battle. Ultimately, Violet calls forth a warrior to engage Momoka in a fierce fight. After a short battle, Violet dismisses the warrior and summons a dragon to quickly finish off Momoka. The dragon's immense power easily overwhelms Momoka, rendering her unconscious on the ground. Later that day, Hyudo attends to the injured students at the nursing station. Mui and her brother, together with an unconscious Ida, arrive for medical help. Meanwhile, Takeshi and Isoshima search for Gekko. They spot Gekko, who remains calm and unaffected amid the chaos at the school. Sensing danger, Takeshi uses his powers to prevent Isoshima from getting close to Gekko. Realizing Gekko is now his enemy, Takeshi positions himself to protect Isoshima from harm. Curious about Gekko's motives, Takeshi asks why he is acting against him. Gekko explains that his first magic teacher was a trailer named Washizu, and he enjoys being a trailer because it lets him hurt Takeshi whenever he wants. A fierce battle erupts, with Gekko attacking aggressively. In response, Takeshi uses his predictive magic to anticipate Gekko's moves, gaining an edge in the fight. As Gekko speeds up, Takeshi struggles to block his attacks and eventually gets defeated, thrown to the ground. Gekko then raises his sword to finish him off, but Isoshima jumps on Takeshi's body, shielding him from Gekko's lethal blow. A moment later, Takeshi recovers and stands up to face Gekko again, this time wielding Eterna. He activates his magical abilities and takes an aggressive stance. Gekko, now even faster, unleashes a series of simultaneous attacks that leave Takeshi weakened and on the ground. Isoshima, visibly upset, rushes to Takeshi and attempts to kiss him. As she kisses him, her physical form shifts between her own body and Takeshi's, leaving Gekko confused and unsure of what's going on. In the end, Gekko forcibly takes Eterna and Isoshima from Takeshi and retreats. Next to Takeshi's body lies an object that Oigami once gave to Isoshima. Minutes later, Violet arrives and examines Takeshi's unconscious form. Meanwhile, within Takeshi's mind, Eterna reveals a vision of the future where Gekko kills his mother. Overwhelmed by this vision, Takeshi drops to his knees as Eterna fades away, urging him to come find her. Back in the present, Mui approaches Takeshi's body, sees Violet there, and realizes that Violet is an enemy. She confronts Violet, demanding to know what she has done to Takeshi. After a while, Violet uses her magic to summon a warrior to fight Mui. Mui holds her own for a bit but eventually falls to the warrior's attacks. Meanwhile, Violet is getting ready to leave with Takeshi's body on her back, and Mui is trying desperately to stop her. Just as the warrior is about to strike the final blow to Mui, 3 female magicians show up and rescue her from certain death. Violet takes this chance to escape, and Mui quickly grabs Takeshi's body before it can hit the ground. The leader of the rescuing trio, Kisaki Ina, is Suganashi's ex-girlfriend and a witch from Camelot. Kisaki agrees to take Takeshi to Camelot's medical facility after Mui spots an item Oigami had given to Isoshima. 3 days later, Takeshi wakes up in a hospital bed and sees Mui wearing a pretty sultry nurse outfit. Mui is thrilled that Takeshi is okay, and she seems even happier happier when he touches her face. The mood gets awkward when Ida walks into the room, causing Mui to quickly change her position to avoid any misunderstandings. Ida expresses his relief that Takeshi is awake and tells him that his sister Futaba was taken by some guys. A few days before, Ida tried to find his sister at the academy when two men in suits took Futaba. They said they were from the inspection bureau and insisted on taking her. When Ida resisted, one of the men hit him with magic, knocking him out. Right now, Takeshi is worried about Isoshima's safety. Suganashi arrives with his ex, Kisaki, and updates Takeshi on Momoka and the surviving students. Suganashi reveals that Momoka's location is unknown and that the students who made it are gathering at Wizard Brace's headquarters. Takeshi is really concerned about Isoshima and shows his determination to rescue her. Suganashi explains that the ghost trailers have multiple hideouts, making it harder to find Isoshima. That night, Takeshi sneaks out of his ward and overhears Kisaki and Suganashi talking, which makes him more worried. Suganashi wants Takeshi to stay in the hospital to recover, but Kisaki can't allow this, since Camelot's rules don't allow men due to it being a women-only place. In the end, Kisaki agrees to try to persuade her superiors to let Takeshi stay in the hospital a little longer. Meanwhile, Takeshi hears their conversation before returning to his ward. When he enters the room, he sees Mui sleeping peacefully and covers her with a blanket to keep her warm. The next morning, many magic users from the Ghost Trailers community gather in a castle. Kazuma, their leader, stands on a raised platform and outlines their next plan of action. Later that evening, Kashizu, following Kazuma's orders, kills the wizard who had cast a spell on the living world, which prevented magic users from using their ancestral magic there. With the wizard dead, the spell is lifted, and magic users can now use magic in the living world without losing their powers. The next morning, a fierce battle breaks out in the living world, causing widespread fear among civilians. Later that day, Takeshi learns about the spell being undone, and decides to visit his home to check on his mother. Kisaki, who is there, agrees to go with him, and they head out together. Hours later, Takeshi, Suganashi, and Kisaki arrive at Takeshi's mother's house and meet Nanase Yuko. Kisaki hands her a letter from the Bishop of Camelot, formally requesting that she supervise Takeshi's magical training. Although Yuko initially declines, saying she's not a magician and wants nothing to do with magic, she eventually agrees when she learns about Takeshi's desire to become stronger to save Isoshima. Takeshi begins his training with his mother at a dojo. During the session, Yuko uses magic with the help of a ring that gives her temporary magical abilities. After the training, Yuko is impressed with Takeshi's progress on the first day. However, as she tries to leave the dojo, she feels lightheaded and collapses. The ring, which allows her to perform magic, drains her life force to help with Takeshi's training, which she knows very well. At sunset, Mui meets with Takeshi and asks about his training progress. Takeshi replies that the training is tough for him. Secretly, he misses the days when he trained under Tsugunashi. After their chat, Mui mentions Isoshima and gives Takeshi the object she took from the academy, earlier the same one Oigami had given to Isoshima in the past. This object, used by magicians to teleport to a specific location, allows Takeshi to reach the Ghost Trailer's hideout. Mui had been unsure about giving it to him, worried he'd rush off to confront the Ghost Trailers right away. After hearing Mui's worries, Takeshi reassures her that he won't act recklessly until his training is finished. He thanks her for caring about him and gently places his hand on her head. Mui becomes emotional and starts to cry, but Takeshi comforts her by wiping away her tears. The next day, Isoshima wakes up from a troubling dream where Takeshi dies beside her. When she looks in the mirror, she's shocked to find that she has turned into Takeshi. Later that morning, Takeshi trains hard with his mother until he's completely worn out. Even though he's tired, he gathers the strength to stand and face her. At the Ghost Trailer's headquarters, Gekko confirms that Isoshima is awake. She's still getting used to her new ability to shapeshift into Takeshi, having no prior experience with such powers. After she returns to her normal form, Isoshima runs into Gekko, who turns aggressive after she makes comments about Takeshi. She bolts from the room, and Gekko misinterprets her escape as a game of tag. While running, she bumps into Oigami and falls down. She pleads with Oigami to help her escape the castle to avoid Gekko. Oigami agrees and takes her to his room for help. Once in Oigami's room, Isoshima asks Hotaru for help to get back to Takeshi. Meanwhile, Takeshi has finished his training and lunch, but he's haunted by memories of his fight with Gekko. Suganashi and Kisaki arrive, with Kisaki praising Takeshi for his training improvements. Meanwhile, Takeshi is determined to save Isoshima from the Ghost Trailers and wants to stay out of the bigger conflict, thinking it doesn't involve him. At the Ghost Trailers headquarters, Oigami and Hotaru help Isoshima escape the castle. Oigami senses Gekko nearby and distracts him to keep him from getting to Isoshima. Isoshima hides behind a pillar with Hotaru, who kisses her to grant her the ability to transform into her. After Isoshima transforms into Hotaru, Gekko approaches, and Hotaru runs off. Gekko, thinking he sees Hotaru, goes off looking for Isoshima. Isoshima. Oigami continues leading Isoshima out of the castle, but soon Washizu interrupts and leaves Isoshima alone again. Feeling scared, Isoshima starts searching for a way out and, after a while of running, turns back into her original form. She finds a dark room, and the door shuts behind her. Kazuma then takes her hand and leads her through a portal. Later that day, Takeshi is training with his mother, Yuko. This time, Yuko teaches him an incantation to improve his magic casting. Takeshi carefully follows her directions and successfully learns the new skill, wrapping up the day's training. Before Yuko leaves the dojo, Takeshi asks why she never mentioned her background as a magician. Yuko says she never considered herself a skilled magician, but Takeshi disagrees. Suddenly, Yuko feels faint and collapses, but Takeshi catches her just in time. As she rests in his arms, she tries to share something about Gekko's accident, but Takeshi interrupts, suggesting they talk about it later so she can rest. Later that day, Kazuma takes Isoshima to a library. She's confused by the place and is shocked when she realizes Kazuma is the leader of the Ghost Trailers. After a few days, Takeshi feels confident in his training and decides it's time to rescue Isoshima. As he gets ready to leave, Ida and Mui show up, wanting to join him. Takeshi activates the object Isoshima left behind, which leads them to the Ghost Trailers headquarters. When they reach the castle, they see Oigami walking with Hotaru. Given his rocky history with Oigami, Takeshi immediately goes on guard and demands to know where Isoshima is. Oigami dodges the question and attacks Takeshi. Meanwhile, Mui fights Hotaru, but Ida jumps in to take her place. At first, Hotaru manages to hurt Ida, but her satisfaction is short-lived when Ida reveals he was just holding back. The fight ends with delivering a heavy blow to Hotaru. Meanwhile, Mui helps Takeshi in his fight against Oigami. Takeshi begins to chant an incantation meant to boost his fighting and casting speed. This boost allows him to quicken his attack speed and hit Oigami harder. With Mui's help, Takeshi finally defeats Oigami by breaking his shield. After the battle, Takeshi questions Oigami about Isoshima's whereabouts. Oigami replies that he couldn't find her. Although Takeshi appreciates Oigami's effort to save Isoshima, he remains worried about her ongoing disappearance. Meanwhile, Isoshima is in a library, discovering important truths from Kazuma. Later that afternoon, Takeshi races back home, desperate to find his mother. When he reaches the entrance, he sees Gekko leaving with Eterna, who's covered in blood. It looks like Gekko has killed Takeshi's mom, and he hopes this is just a nightmare. Takeshi draws his sword, demanding Gekko to move aside, but Gekko laughs and insists he hasn't killed their mother. Despite this, Takeshi tries to enter the house, but Gekko challenges him to a fight. Gekko summons Eterna, who appears as a chained woman and attacks Takeshi. Just as Eterna prepares to land a finishing blow, Gekko calls her back, returning her to her usual form. While Takeshi is on his knees, Gekko approaches him and claims he wasn't behind the accident 3 years ago. He reveals that their mother, Yuko, had asked the Bishop of Camelot to have him killed. Confused, Takeshi asks why his mom would want Gekko dead. Gekko admits he doesn't know why, since he left before understanding the reason, after causing Yuko pain. Years ago, Yuko had a disturbing dream where Gekko became Kazuma, and she wanted to prevent that from happening. In the present, Yuko bleeds out on the floor of her house and loses consciousness due to blood loss. Takeshi is left stunned by this revelation, while Gekko takes grim satisfaction in what he's done. When Takeshi asks if Gekko harmed their mother, Gekko thinks Takeshi's concern only fuels his hatred. Gekko gets angrier, seeing Takeshi's reaction as proof that he thinks Gekko is the villain. Fueled by anger, Gekko unleashes his full magical powers, getting ready for a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Takeshi also activates his powers and takes an aggressive stance. Their fight begins, escalating into a mid-air clash as the two brothers battle. Gekko quickly realizes that Takeshi has become faster since their last encounter. The fight pauses momentarily as magical forces from both sides gather in the air. Takeshi's allies Ida, Mui, Tsuganashi, and others face off against Washizu and his team. As the combat rages, Gekko stops the fight and admits their mother wanted him dead. His confession makes Takeshi feel pity, causing him to halt his attack. Gekko reveals he has no place to go, and Takeshi offers him a chance to join him. Hearing Takeshi's offer, Gekko moves closer. Isoshima, watching from above, quickly swoops in to stop Gekko from attacking Takeshi. As Gekko approaches Takeshi with a weapon drawn, intending to stab him, Isoshima intervenes, taking Takeshi's place and ending up critically injured. This sight deeply upsets Takeshi. Mui arrives and tries to use her magic to heal Isoshima and prevent her from dying. Determined to settle things with his brother, Takeshi takes flight and heads toward Gekko. Gekko, claiming Isoshima's fate isn't his fault, further angers Takeshi. Their battle resumes with Takeshi aggressively knocking Gekko to the ground. The fight escalates as their powers start causing widespread destruction. Meanwhile, Mui intensifies her magic to speed up Isoshima's healing. Seeing the chaos, Momoka intervenes with black magic, casting a spell that sets off a minor explosion to control the situation. Minutes later, Kazuma arrives at Takeshi's house and uses his magic to heal Takeshi's mother. Outside, Violet waits for him. When Kazuma comes out, he questions why Violet remains loyal to him, to which she replies that he once saved her life. Kazuma holds a picture of Isoshima in a swimsuit for reasons that aren't clear. Before leaving, Kazuma takes a final look at Yuko and calls her his mother. Takeshi wakes up to find himself at the Magical Academy, which now looks new and unharmed. He sees his mother with Hituji, but she doesn't respond to him. Confused and unable to make sense of the situation, he notices a poster dated 1998, which shocks him. Washizu and Momoka, looking much younger, walk by, reinforcing his belief that he has traveled back in time. His thoughts are interrupted when Kazuma and Gekku arrive. As Gekku and Kazuma leave, Gekku turns and tells Takeshi he has been waiting for him. Meanwhile, Isoshima and Mui, worried about Takeshi, survey the explosion site.